Hey folks, Mike Dawkins from World Cast Anglers here with your Jackson Hole fly fishing forecast for the first weekend in August. I know it's crazy. I feel like it was just 4th of July, August 1st and 2nd. We've got a hot, muggy day here in Teton Valley. I'm out here on the Teton River. Normally you can see the Grand Teton, but we've got some haze and smoke coming in from wildfires, not in our immediate local area, but a lot in the eastern Oregon, Washington, central Idaho, around Boise and stuff like that. So to be honest, I'm sort of surprised that our clarity in the sky and our views held on as long as they did with how dry the rest of the Rocky Mountain West is. But now we're starting to see a little bit of those effects, and I would foresee those to stick around until fall and maybe even winter arrive, or we get some type of weather pattern change. Looking into our weekend forecast, we've got 93 and 58 with lots of sun on Saturday, 88 and 52, lots of sun on Sunday. So a bit of rinse and repeat continuing into our sort of second half of our summer season of fishing in the greater Jackson Hole area. Our 10-day forecast, we've got a little bit cooler temperatures. We've got a day of a high of 80. We've got some lows in the mid 40s and the very low 50s, which is going to be a very welcome reprieve to some of the temperatures we were seeing last week and the week before, where some of our valley temps weren't even getting below 60 degrees. That's going to be a major piece to the puzzle of what we'll dive into here in a little bit. Palisades Reservoir is 25% of capacity. Jackson Lake is 59% of capacity. So we've got two big sort of news pieces as we look into the crystal ball per se of fishing in the latter portion of our summer season in the greater Teton Valley and Jackson Hole area. We've got a number of closures, suggested voluntary as well as mandated closures on a lot of our or some rivers in our local area. Wyoming Fish and Game just issued a voluntary closure for the Snake River from Jackson Lake Dam to Palisades, as well as Flat Creek, for catch and release anglers that they suggest to stop fishing around 12 p.m. when we're starting to see some of those water temperatures in that 67, 68, and sometimes even 70. I know that's crazy. There from 12 p.m. on. A lot of our guides and a lot of us as anglers are already doing that. We commend Wyoming Fish and Game, for giving some structure around that and some oomph to the messaging that we've been trying to portray and broadcast out there to all anglers, where the basis is of carrying a thermometer, taking some water temperatures throughout the day, monitoring your location and what you're doing at the time and the pursuits of your fishing in those certain areas. Those don't change during any of this into the latter half of our summer season. Concentrate on the coolest parts of the day, which are sunrise till about that noon to 2 p.m. You're just going to sort of have to take it as it is and see sort of what's happening on a day-to-day basis. You may get a really cloudy, overcast day. We may get some monsoonal moisture and temperatures may not get above 75 degrees. That doesn't mean like just go have at it. We still have to be really smart and really proactive in this situation to get us through these next couple weeks of the dog days of summer, that angry August time period that everybody talks about. That's the Snake, Jackson, and Flat Creek. Yellowstone National Park, you've got mandatory no fishing on the Firehole, the Gibbon from Norris downstream, as well as the Madison to the park boundary. Those are off limits to fishing, and to be honest, I probably wouldn't want to be fishing there anyways, anywhere, anytime this time of year. Those are great fisheries early in the spring, early in the summer, and then once again in the fall. All other rivers in Yellowstone National Park are closed from 2 p.m. until sunrise the next day. Very similar messaging. Get out there when it's early, when water temperatures are the coolest. Carry a thermometer. If you don't have one, go to your local fly shop and buy one. If they don't have one, call me. I'll mail you one. It's not really that difficult to dip a thermometer in the water throughout the day and sort of take some measurements and see what's going on. So looking into that sort of crystal ball, we've got, some pieces of the puzzle that are shifting on us in the latter, second half of our summer season that we don't normally have. In honesty, it's really not that different. You're going to hear from me in the vast majority of this report that our fishing is going to be better in the morning. No brainer. If you don't like getting up early in the morning, then don't complain about subpar fishing, you know, around noon to 4 or something on the South Fork of the Snake. It's just the time of year. It's the hand of cards that have been dealt with us, and it's up to us to play the best game that we can, A, to fulfill our fishing pursuits and adventures out there, but B, and most importantly, to do the best for our trout friends in the river so future generations can have the same experiences that we do, and we can have great experiences next, you know, this fall, next summer, winter, etc. You know, the snowball effect starts now, so keep those in mind. It's not all bleak out there either. We've got our Angry August Bingo Adventure. It's the first time we've been offering this, and it is a real incentivizing driver to A, hook everybody up that's trying to continue to fish and trying to get through those summer doldrums and the dog days of summer, to spread out a bit of our traffic, go see some different things, go check out some different species and have fun doing it. We're trying to turn all those frowns of the angry August and all of the sort of bad news and rain cloud hanging over us into something fun. That is going to be launched on August 1st. Watch our Instagram, our Facebook, our website for all of those details. It's going to be a blast. The winners, if you pull a bingo or draw a bingo, you get some discounts on flies, bigger discounts for other strategies, and then we have got a great grand prize at the end for everybody that blacks out their bingo board. Enough of that, we'll get to the fishing. South Fork of the Snake, we've got 9,900 CFS coming out of Palisades Dam. That happened on Thursday afternoon. The gauge at Heise still reading 12,600. I would forecast it to be somewhere, you know, around 10,500 per se. We've had some really good reports of mutant stones, the Classinia stones on the South Fork top to bottom. That is a very early morning pursuit. You'll want to be on the water early at dawn. That usually shuts off sometimes around 10 or 11. Those Chernobyl bugs, water walkers, any of those things where you skate those on the surface, flats, recirculating eddies, banks. It's a pretty active pursuit of basically like streamer fishing with a big foam fly, as those fish are looking for those Classinia stoneflies skatering across the water surface there in those early morning low light periods. The rest of the day has been filled with some dry dropper fishing, longer droppers than shorter, shallow nymphing, and some dry fly fishing here and there. We're starting to see some of our PMDs, the caddis, the yellow sallies, and those things sort of start to wane off, and we're starting to get in to that angry August dog days of summer. Good news is plug that in with some terrestrials, hoppers, beetles, ants, and anything alike. The lower flows on the South Fork, in my humble opinion, in my experience, is that it's going to trigger some really good golden hatches and those like mutant stone hatches, so get ready for that. The Snake and Jackson, we've got 5,000 CFS coming out of Jackson Lake Dam, 7,360 CFS there, going into Palisades before the salt and the grays. Man, the Snake sort of had a rough go here the past couple weeks. Monsoonal moisture and rain has increased turbidity in a lot of tributaries, namely the Buffalo Fork and the Hoback, sort of spilling out some mud and some off-color water conditions. We're getting some higher water temperatures there around Flat Creek and the lower river, sometimes around 70. We've got this new voluntary closure issued by Wyoming Fish and Game. It just seems like we can't sort of catch a chance here in the past 10 to 14 days. The good news is this morning, water temps, first thing coming out of the gate, were 62 degrees. When I was looking at the data for the month, that's the coolest it's been since we started the month of July. We just need a couple more weeks to get through until that angle of the sun changes. We get some cooler nights, a little bit cooler days, and we're going to be free and clear for some late summer fishing there on the Snake. The clarity is more on that green side of things than the mud, and if I headed out there with those higher flows, we've got 5,000 CFS again coming out of Jackson Lake Dam. I'd be throwing some streamers. I'd be fishing some big dry droppers or nymph rigs with rubber legs, blacks, browns, purples, any of those darker shades that are going to show up in better, higher contrast than in clearer water conditions. I'd keep flies low, I'd keep them deep, and I'd try to keep them through that just sort of aggressive top layer of flow and try to get to the fish that way. The Teton behind me, 310 CFS, 487 CFS down there around St. Anthony. Similarly, it's the same message. Fishing on the Teton has been pretty darn good, especially in the morning periods. You know, when it starts to hit noon, 1, 2, 3 p.m., things sort of shut down. It gets hot, it's dry, the sun's high in the sky. We're seeing some PMDs, a lot of hoppers, a lot of terrestrials around, you know, caddis, you know, some good mayfly and caddis hatches, not much of the stoneflies really to report back on. Dry dropper fishing has been pretty solid, but we're starting to see a lot of weed growth, and we're starting to see the flow of the river start to slow down, which means the depth is going to get deeper. That can help the fish in some extent, but they also need that higher, highly oxygenated water that usually comes with more current and more flow. The lower river, we've still got some guys going down in the canyon, and they've got some really good reports of dry dropper fishing and foam fishing down there, and some streamer fishing. Once again, it's an early morning game. Get out there early, get off early. If you don't like to do that, you know, it may not be your next couple of weeks to go fishing. Henry's Fork up there north of us, 943 CFS coming out of Island Park Dam. That's been decreased 1,570 CFS there around St. Anthony. You know, as I've said, the Henry's Fork can be a little bit of a diamond in the rough this time of year. That warm river to Ashton, Lower Mesa, Riverside to Hatchery Ford, excuse me, you know, has highly oxygenated, moving water with some gradient and steepness and flow and current that trout like. I'd check those out with dry droppers and nymph rigs. The lower river, I'd probably stay away from it unless I was strategically targeting some fish with rusty spinners or hoppers in the early morning periods, or if we get some of these afternoon thunderstorms like last night where it was 65 70 degrees there at 8-9 p.m. with rain, which can open up some opportunities for afternoon and evening fishes with evening fishing opportunities with some bug hatches and cooler water temperatures and cooler air temperatures. We've got Flat Creek that's opening on August 1st. Usually I'd say rah, 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 get out there and check it out. But with that voluntary closure, I'd sort of tread lightly. I would be ready with a lot of hoppers. I'd be ready with a lot of beetles, ants. You know, those fish haven't seen much there since, you know, November of last year, so they're probably pretty readily available to eat things and eat things off the surface. But watch out at noon and watch those water temperatures. Put your thermometers in the water, check it out. You know, I'd probably maybe fish some stronger and thicker leaders and tippets than I normally would to land fish and land them quick. Keep them in the water, minimize handling, photos, etc. But I'd sort of concentrate on Flat Creek being a better opportunity, probably going into the fall period. I wouldn't write it off, but you're going to have some very finite windows to enjoy it. DIY, walk, wade. We've got great opportunities for a lot of tributaries, creeks, streams, high alpine lakes. This is the time to check those out. You know, some areas, you know, higher up in the Grovons, the Grays, you know, some of the areas of the Upper Green. You know, normally I would say the Buffalo Fork, the Grovont, the Hoback, but those have been dealing with some turbidity issues. Tributaries to Palisades Reservoir, tributaries to the South Fork. You know, you've got a whole plethora of small streams and tributaries that are full of highly oxygenated, cool, clean water feeding into our main stems that should have some great fishing opportunities here for the dog days of summer and moving into that angry August time frame. Don't forget to check those out. They can be lifesavers to try to sort of fill the fly fishing bucket and the adventure bucket this time of year. So that's about all that I got. I know it's a little bit longer of a report than I usually give, but we've got some very important news, you know, that's going to protect our trout friends during these higher than normal air temperatures, weather patterns, and higher than normal water temperatures that we don't normally see here in the greater Jacksonville area. And Angry August Bingo's coming out, and I can't wait. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think y'all are going to really enjoy it and have, you know, a new, fresh perspective on this second half of the summer season. Get some discounts in the shop and just sort of have a blast doing it. Hope everybody has a great weekend. Stay hydrated, use plenty of sunscreen, get out there on the water early. If not, chill in the shade. go for a hike, do something different, and get ready for your fishing this fall. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate everybody's support through the summer, and we'll see you here next week.